I have had one heck of a YouTube streamlined experience this afternoon, okay? And I guess it's all because I want to talk about that term exclusivity, exclusive, and exclude, those words that are, when used anywhere but within the context of white supremacy, are words that people like in this country. Not that you shouldn't you should dislike them. I hope I can be heard. Um, you see if nobody has come in yet. I'm going to wait and see if anybody comes in. I'm hoping that you do. I've tried this twice. The first time I tried to play back and I got no sound. None at all. Not a drop of sound. The second time was even worse because I was looking a hot mess for like an instant with my turban on. So I hurried. I deleted that one too and took the braids out my hair and threw some lipstick on and a little bit of eyeshadow since my style went away. I'm hoping that I get some of my class back because I'd like to talk about this with an audience, even though I do think that I'll get people who will listen to it during the replay. It's there. It's very interesting to talk about these words because I don't think there are very many people who understand the context when used uh, with through the lens of white supremacy and racism, because these particular terms are ingrained in the fabric of Americana. Uh, in fact, to be exclusive is to be superior. To have something exclusive is to have that thing be superior, among other things. Um, Hermes bags are considered superior to other bags. I think just by virtue of their scarcity, and that's the way that's America's economy is structured on the scarcity of goods and services. So it's no wonder why exclusivity diamonds were purposely, I think, still today, were certainly purposefully made to appear exclusive, rare, in order to drum up the value of them. So I'm really hoping that I get some people in the class. Um, if you're on Facebook, thank you for joining. If you are on YouTube, thank you for joining. In any case, please like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel. It's important. I got rid of the other videos, but I do want to uh, recreate these or recreate this video because it's important. These words are important for us to understand in order to help us navigate through this system of racism and white supremacy. So I guess it looks like I have two people in the class. I can't tell who you are. Let me see. I'm going to look at my YouTube part and see if I can tell whether there's anybody on YouTube. Hold on one second. Let me see if there's anybody on YouTube. Hi, Nigel. It looks like you are. Oh, good, Nigel. Good. I can see you. I can see you on StreamYard. So hello there. Welcome. Do share. If you're not subscribed, do subscribe and like the video. Um, we're going to be talking about three words: exclusivity, exclusive, and exclude. And I'm hoping that I can get at least one more person in my YouTube classroom um, before I begin. So let's see. Do share, Nigel. Share this video with your friends or anybody who you think might be interested. I hope you can hear me. If you can hear me, put a 1 in the chat, Nigel, please, because that would help me out greatly. What messed me up before was the fact that I thought I was talking for an entire half an hour and nobody could hear a word I said, or at least it appeared that way, because when I did the playback, I couldn't hear a word I said. So if you can hear me, I would appreciate it. If you're still here, to put a 1 in that chat. I would appreciate it. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you can hear me. I'll tell you, I had a hell of a day. Oh, a hell of a StreamYard day. So hopefully I'll be able to get this done. I'll be able to get this video done. Okay. Well, you know what? It looks like I'm not going to get that many people in class today. Maybe they're en route home or other things, and hopefully they'll catch the replay. So I'm going to go ahead and begin. Of course, I am Dr. Cynthia Elise Smith, and I am an anti-racism, anti-white supremacism educator and essayist, and I specialize in alternative views of race, racist color, racist character, racism, and white supremacy. And I offer more critical perspectives on these subjects, including potential implications of racialized wording um, in the U.S. language lexicon that are not ordinarily considered, which is what I'm going to be doing today in discussing exclusivity, exclusive, and exclude from a different perspective, from a perspective that may not ordinarily be considered. And there are 3 tools that you're going to need, Nigel, as well as anyone else who is uh, watching. I see that there are 4 people in the classroom now. Hi. I hope you get out of this discussion what I'm hoping that you will. Put on your critical thinking caps. And I want you to make use of the 3 things, or what I call the 3 C's of navigating. The 3 C's of navigating through the language system of racism and white supremacy. Because there is an entire language system that is embedded in the ideology of white supremacy and its um, system of denial and discrimination that helps support it and sustain it and maintain it. And the first tool in that arsenal of understanding, that arsenal of navigation, is comprehension. And comprehension is the essence of understanding what you are saying, being told, writing, and reading, or the ability of your mind to form and craft imagery and concepts from the words that are spoken or the words that are read. Okay? Comprehension, understanding. The next is context. Context is the ability to comprehend or understand the circumstances that form the setting for an event, statement, or idea, and in terms through which that statement, event, or idea can be fully comprehended, understood, and assessed. Okay? Context helps you to understand those circumstances, and that is what you're going to need to understand the context through which I am framing this discussion on exclusivity, exclusive, and exclude. And last but not least, is connotation. And connotation offers the ability of the words to summon emotion. How often have words made you feel a particular way? Okay. So it's the ability to summon emotion or an idea or feeling that a word or words invoke in addition to the literal or primary meaning. And connotation is very important because it is the feeling of the words. It is the expressive part. How are the words expressed? How do they make you feel? It's that part of the words, sentences, and paragraphs through which there will be drama, such as feelings of happiness, sadness, violence. I'm going to punch his lights out because of what he said. I love this person for what he or she said. So that's what connotation does. Okay. So, with that in mind, I'm going to read for you what I put together in terms of the discussion. And I want you to listen carefully to it because I'm going to be defining the words as they are written in dictionaries, not written by Black people. But they are definitions nonetheless. So these words, and because they are definitions as ascribed to us by the culture within which we live, then it behooves us to understand them within particular contexts, to comprehend them within particular contexts, and not just accept one context as the end all be all, because then you get confused. Then you wonder, well, what the heck did they mean by that? Then you're not able to distinguish a dog whistle or euphemism and be able to determine what is being said to you. Okay? So that's why it's important to be able to navigate this language system. And today we're talking about exclusivity, exclusive, and exclude. And I'll begin. Oxford Dictionary defines exclusivity as the practice of excluding or not admitting other things. As an example, for the first definition, they say these banks maintain their exclusivity by setting minimum entry standards. So that would be the sentence that would be used in order to understand the context with which exclusivity is being used in the first definition. Second definition, restriction to a particular person, group, or area. By way of example, they give us those inside the circle cultivate an air of exclusivity. Again, it gives you a context within which to understand the word. Now, recall that I don't know whether you do recall, but those of you who recall that I discussed the ity suffix before, specifically as it related to the term minority, and how the ity suffix changes the root of the word into a person, place, or thing. So the suffixes such, ity suffix changes a word from whatever form the root word is to a noun or a person, place, or thing. And it changes the context of the word to a quality, state, or degree of that person, place, or thing. As in a state of being, something. So the root word exclusive means being independent from or not shared by others. Sole, exclusive control, exclusive use, limiting or limited to possession, ownership, or use by a single individual or group. Dictionary.com gives us an explanation. Exclusive is most commonly used to describe things that are limited to certain people. Hold on 1 second. Let me make sure that I have the right words here. Limited to certain people. Okay, here we go. Okay. Exclusive can be thought of as an adjective form of the word exclude, which means to shut out or keep out, the opposite of include. It can be applied in many different contexts, but almost all of them have to do with there being a limit on something, especially on how many people have access to something. Hey, do the right thing. Welcome to class. I really jacked myself up in the class earlier today. I went to play it back and I could not hear a thing. I don't know whether it's because I had a different set of earphones in, but it just appeared as though I wasn't able to hear anything, which made me jump back on here. And then I messed that one up and had to delete it. And I decided to come back on at 4 to clean things up. If you haven't done so already, like this video, share this video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, because I have much, much more to talk about in the time of that's allotted to me in life, because it is my mission to do this for the rest of my life. So we're talking about exclusion, exclusivity, and exclude. Okay. So exclude is also an important word to consider within the context of this discussion. According to According to vocabulary.com, exclude comes to us from the Latin word excludere, which means to shut. So essentially, when you exclude someone, you slam the door in their face one way or another. You won't let them into the party. You leave them off the invite list or refuse to include them in the conversation once they arrive. So that's when you're excluding. Interesting. Now, what is inherent in this word exclusive in the vernacular of American English outside of any notion of white supremacism? So that's the question. What is inherent in this word exclusive or exclusivity in the vernacular of American English outside any notion of white supremacism? I'll tell you. The economic class caste of American culture. That is what is inherent in this word exclusive and in exclusivity. It lives, see, on its face, it isn't quote unquote white supremacist. Okay? But I'm here to tell you, it has its root in supremacism. And I'm going to get a little more clear about that as we move on. The economic class cast of American culture is what is inherent in that word exclusive. Within American culture, the word exclusive is a word that connotes wealth, a specific kind of ownership of something worth a great deal of money, valuable and scarce. For the person owning or being a part of something exclusive, it means that that person has, quote, arrived. They have arrived at a place not reserved for just anyone. That person is special because that person gets to be among other people who are somehow considered better for whatever the reason. So they get to be in an exclusive space or place. That person is special, and the service, place, or group is superior to others. Understand that this exclusivity is accepted as a facet of American culture, although it is a form of supremacism. Did you know that? Did you know that exclusivity, and its family words, exclusive and exclude, are a form of supremacism. They live inside of that cocoon of supremacism. All Americans accept this form of supremacism because it directly relates to the notions of achievement, bootstrapping, the meritocracy, and the American dream. Everybody wants to get to that place where they are feeling special, second to none. Everyone, just about, wants to become or partake in some form of exclusivity. This term also informs the entire economic structure of capitalism in terms of scarcity. If something is exclusive, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be considered scarce, like diamonds, like, rare, like a diamond, rare, like ownership of Hermes bag or Maserati. They only make a certain number of things, and that way they can drum up the price because of its what? Exclusivity, meaning not everybody's going to get it. It's used in marketing because it sells. It may determine where we dine, where we live, what we wear, and how we conduct ourselves outside of the confines of our own homes. But there's a context, there's that word, and a connotation, there's that word, within the terms which need to be comprehended. There's that term. Remember, these are the tools to use. When navigating terminology that we use within a racialized America. Okay, now we're getting ready to go into the context. Put on your critical thinking caps. A large part of the supremacist mindset is in exclusivity, or to exclude. Let me say that again. A large part of the supremacist mindset is exclusivity and exclude. or to exclude. Therefore, a simple addition of whiteness to this supremacist ideology, and it is clear that white supremacist racists simply took the subjugation already being experienced economically on people they identified with their own pigment, the same subjugation practiced by white people among themselves in the form of economic exclusion on the basis of class, is part and parcel of the subjugation of the newly freed, of the enslaved, in the form of segregation where Black people were excluded from personhood, wealth, and the franchise. In fact, even today, a major basis for discrimination works on the premise of the same value, which is determined by its inability or capacity to be gained, purchased, achieved, or entered. That which is exclusive to them, and through which we are generally excluded or given a limited apportionment of opportunity. Another important point to consider is exclusivity maintains the value of something by denying access and opportunity on the ground that the value of that something will decrease. Hmm. But I want you to consider something. In light of everything that I've just discussed with you about those terms, I want you to consider the one thing that whiteness will not make exclusive to themselves in this culture. Oh, if you understand so far, please drop a light bulb in there. My illuminators, that's what I'm going to call my class when they come. And the light bulb in the light bulb emoji is what I use to make sure you understand. You know, that light bulb that you put on top of your head when you think, I got it. So if you got it, throw in a light bulb. If you understand within the context that I am describing to you today, if you understand what those words stand for, it's not to say you should not like it, but you should understand it, and understand it within the context that I'm presenting to you, so that when you hear particular kinds of words, you can understand exclusivity. See, because today there are people who would much rather continue to use race as character to deny and discriminate. So they use the economic class caste structure, which was originally created for themselves or for the poor among them who share their skin color, middle class, upper class, those kinds of things, and of course, most white people who live in the middle, lower middle, those classes in that caste, pretty much they try to make it to the middle class because with the hope of, which is a myth, a lot of the time, that they will reach the pinnacle or the zenith or get up there with that 1%, which is always going to be 1% because you'll never make it. Okay. But they tell you that through rugged individualism, we talked about individualism either yesterday or the day before. I think it was yesterday. Yesterday or the day before, we had class on individualism. If you didn't see that class, do go back and listen to that lesson on individualism. Um, and they strive to become part of the exclusives within their own culture. But the one thing that whiteness will not make exclusive to themselves in this culture is racism and the term racist. Now, understanding everything that you understand about that I've explained about exclusivity and that private club and that type of thing, okay? It's racism and the term racist. Why? You might say, why? Well, I'll tell you. White supremacist racists know that there is no true value in racism except as the farce that creates the false playing field at the expense of Black Americans. You get that? You get it? There is no value as that value was successfully expressed prior to the civil rights movement. Remember, prior to the civil rights movement, to be white was to be considered white was an exclusive club. And if you were Black, forget it. You're just not getting in. Why? Because you don't have that skin color that they decided was the pinnacle. It was by color. It meant something. It had some agency to be white in a white society. It had value. But since the post-racial colorblind era, they got rid of that. So the value in being a white supremacist racist kind of went down the wayside. So they had to figure something out. So this is what. So they know that there's no true value. And now so to it has. There is no value as to that value was successfully expressed prior to the civil rights movement to make it specific to their culture anymore, especially as they have lost the idea of color blindness. It holds no value. See, now when you hear white and white supremacy, it's like, oh my God. Somebody's being racist. It holds no value for white people predisposed to white supremacist ideology because they know that system was created to give the illusion of their superiority. And if they are to continue the myth, see, remember now, post-racial colorblind ushered in the repopularity of merit and achievement as the only precursor to success, exclusivity, achievement, the illusion of superiority. And if they're to continue the myth of merit and achievement as their reasons for superiority and not racism, racism has to be accessible to all. Or at the very least, the term racist. Everybody must have access to it. There can be no exclusion from it. Nope, it ain't exclusive. It is not exclusive to just white people, according to them. Meaning, everyone can be racist, and racism exists within all cultures, even though, and I'm not talking about the world cultures, I'm talking about in the United States of America, the only culture who claims superiority over everybody else on the planet is the United States of America and American culture. In a nutshell, although created by, promulgated by, propagated by, supported by, and sustained generationally by white supremacist racists, racism is the only equal opportunity they have no problem providing equal access to with Black people. And today, just about everyone, not say just about anyone or everyone not white. So if you understand what I said, all that to say, throw in a couple more light bulbs. If you understand, throw in a couple more light bulbs. It makes it interesting. English language, the American English language is very interesting. I'm sure the same can be said for other languages in the world, but the American English language in particular, and especially how it has evolved over the centuries, very, very, very interesting. How one word can have so many different connotations. One word can have so many different derivatives, so many different meanings. This is why it's so important to understand the context of the word or words or phrases that are being spoken, read, heard. That's why it's important. Because this language has so many different ways to interpret it. Now, in the weeks to come, I'm in the process of researching now, but I intend on discussing the term superiority and supremacism as that word relates to different aspects of American life, such as religion and economics, our system of economics, and how that all plays together into how this culture, this country, sees itself as exceptional, which is another word similar in meaning to exclusive. That's another supremacism word, exceptional. Make you wonder why are all these words, competition is a way to determine who is exceptional, who is part of the elite. All those words. Interesting. We're going to be getting into all of that stuff in days to come, weeks to come. So, I don't know whether anybody would want to, because it seems like it seems like we don't generally are able to get into a discussion unless Food Chill is here, but Food Chill is not here. So I am gonna drop the link down for anybody who wants to come up and discuss these words. I'd like to say hi to Nigel, Do the Right Thing, and Sunshine. Thank you so much for coming to class today. I didn't know whether I was going, and anybody from Facebook that I can't see right now, I want to thank you for come into the class. And again, I want you to share this video, like this video, um, and subscribe to the channel to get more insights into the language system of racism and white supremacy, and be able to discern, so that when you hear dog whistles, things that we call dog whistles, you'll be able to uh, differentiate the real meaning of a particular euphemism or dog whistle that you might hear on television. And there are a lot of them. There are a lot of them. Urbanized, urbanized communities. They say, that's another. That's both a dog whistle and a euphemism for black. And unless you are thinking of it in terms of within the context of um, white supremacy and racism, you won't. It'll go right past you. You'll listen to it, but you won't hear it. So that's why it's important. I hope that I was able to help you to understand. Oh, thank you. Oh, do the right thing. I'm going to show this. It says this is good. If I weren't at work, I'd hit the link. I can't wait until we can have a convention about this, a conversation about this topic. Yes. I try to uh, go live on Saturdays at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And if you like, we can talk about that. We can recap, because I would like to recap on individualism and exclusion and exclusivity. And I also want to discuss inclusivity and diversity. Those are the next ones. So that's for next. That's for the next class. Inclusivity, inclusive, include. The opposite of what I'm talking about now. Oh, um, do the right thing. You said kinda. I know you're at work. We are definitely going to talk about this at more length on Saturday. Okay, because I want you to understand it fully. Okay, within the words that are used, uh, a lot of the words that are used in the English, American English language lexicon have more than one meaning and more than one connotation and more than one context. And because of that, it's important to understand when the word is also racialized. And that's most often hidden. The racialized context is most often hidden. And what I do is I bring it to the fore. I bring it, hey, hi, Jezebel. If you that name seems new, I'm not quite sure if it's new or not, but do subscribe and do like the video. You can catch it back on replay. The discussion was on the words exclusive, exclusivity, and exclude. Now, we are also going to be talking about inclusivity, include, and inclusive. And I'm going to recap on this exclude next week as well, and also individualism. I think I'll get into that too, if anybody, if everybody is interested in that as well. It's important to understand uh, the other ways that these words um, express themselves. You said, okay, let me put that up for you. It says, my youngest child is extremely pro-black. Could he, could she be racist to white individuals considering her stance on white supremacy? No, no. That is, haha, I'm glad you said that. And that is directly related to what I was saying about how uh, the idea or moniker racist has been changed or retooled to include just about anyone, because it has turned into or has morphed into more of interpersonal behaviors as opposed to a system of denial and discrimination. Your um, youngest son, your youngest child, rather, did not create or design the ideology of white supremacy, nor did your youngest child create a system that was designed to maintain, sustain, and ensure that the ideology of white supremacy was is sustained and maintained. So your child could never be racist against anyone because your child, that would mean your child was an oppressor of him or herself. Okay, and that's impossible. We did not create a system of oppression and subjugation based on our inferiority to white people, to subjugate and mistreat ourselves. We didn't do it. Now, in the case of your youngest son, there is absolutely nothing wrong with your son being pro-black any more than an American being American. Because for us, for black descendants of the enslavement, black is a lineage, not just a color. It's a state of being, because we didn't get to keep our geographic lineage when we were brought over to the United States from Africa, from different countries in Africa. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being pro-black. That means that, think of the word pro. Let's think of that word pro. Pro is a prefix. Okay? Pro is a prefix that connotes uh, being for, supporting. So he supports black. That doesn't mean, by supporting black, that doesn't mean that you don't support white. What we're not supporting, see, and you have to understand, it's not white in terms of the assignment of that color to a person's skin. It is whiteness. I have a definition of whiteness that I'm going to put you guys on hold for just a second here. Let me give you a little 30-second. Don't leave, people, because I will be back in 30 seconds, hopefully. 30 seconds to a minute, because I want to find um, what I wrote for white supremacy, for the ideology of white supremacy. Hold on. And whiteness. Hold on. Can't find it. Hold on a second. Just give me a minute. I will find it in just a second, okay? Give me a minute. Don't leave. Don't leave. Remember, hit that like button, because I'll find it. Let me go up into my see. I'm gonna find it. Ah, here we go. State. My Penn State. A couple of years ago, I think now. To I hope you can still hear me. I'm just gonna print out. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. I hope you can hear me. Just give me a minute. Okay. White supremacy and whiteness. Okay. Hold on. I'm going to print this out. Print. Selected sections. Print selection. And go. Okay. Give me just a minute. Give me a minute. I found it. I'm glad that you are still here. Those of you who are still in class, I am so glad you are here. Okay. All right. White supremacist. I was saying how I gave a lecture to a class at Penn State for one of my cohorts, who is a professor there in Penn State, and it was on race, racism, and the value in the color the colors black and white, and for purposes of the lecture, I gave my own definition of white supremacy and whiteness for context. Okay, where white supremacy is the ideology using the color white and whiteness as a value and merit metric, where superiority and goodness aligns with the color white, and the color black and blackness are aligned as bad or inferior, each having been assigned generations ago to skin pigmentation. I wanted to do this. Now, whiteness, for purposes of context, here and anywhere, is the theory that skin pigment, this is the eye I had to sty in, and it's itching, still itching. Oh, it's a pain in the behind. Styes are a pain in the behind. Anyway, the theory that skin pigment, or the assignment of the color white to imply skin color, grants that individual with certain natural rights and privileges. The indoctrinated perception is of complete sovereignty over and above anything else on the planet Earth. And that's what whiteness is. And that is what I am against. Does that mean every white person? No. Do you get it? If you understand, throw me a light bulb. If not, I'll explain it even further. We can put on our critical thinking caps and dig even deeper into the rabbit hole. The point being, there is not one black body, at least in this country, who can be racist. One, because we don't subscribe to the ideology, those of us who do not, and even those who do subscribe to that ideology of white supremacy, the ideology using the color white and whiteness, okay, the theory of skin pigment, or the assignment of the color white to imply skin color, okay. uh, those that believe that white people are inherently superior and black people are inherently inferior. Those black people who subscribe to that ideology, they are sympathizers and believers of that ideology. It would be, and it's no different than someone who calls themselves a Christian or a Muslim in religious terms, or a capitalist, or someone who agrees with someone who is pro whiteness. You can be black and be pro whiteness. That doesn't mean that you're racist in within the context of what racism is. Racism is a system of denial and discrimination. And in this 21st century, limited apportionment of opportunity, equity, opportunity, and justice. And not so much justice, but, and in the United States. Okay. It's not always just because I don't like you. If I don't like you and you are white, that doesn't mean that I don't like you because you're white. That doesn't mean I don't like you because you're white. It means that you've done something to me that I don't like, or you've said something to me that I don't like. There are things that are outside of the realm of supremacism, or white supremacism, as it were. Exclusivity can live outside of the context of white supremacy. I showed you that. But when you look at it through that lens now, except for the fact that whatever context you use, black people just are not, we are just not racist. The definition has been retooled such that interpersonal behavior is considered more than the system of institutions and the structural framework for denial and discrimination. It's I don't like you, so that this is why they call it's looked at in terms of hate, which makes it much more difficult to deal with, and which is why it's so difficult for black people to get redress and justice, because we have to prove hate, and hate in terms of race. And that wasn't by happenstance. That's on purpose. Okay. I don't want to digress too much though. But let's see. Let me just look at some of the comments. Yeah. Oh, good, Jessica. I'm glad you understand. Yes. That's the thing. I want you to understand what I'm saying. Okay. They would want us to believe that we can also share in that moniker. This is why the definition of racism is so abstract, is abstract, because they are inviting us and everybody else to the table. You too can be a racist. Why? Because it's just about how I feel about you, if I like you or not, if I hate you. This is why you hear so many people who are misguided in terms of what racism is, that you hear people say, if we could just get along, if we could just love one another. Trust me, loving one another has absolutely nothing to do with a system that is in place to ensure an ideology that says, I am inferior You get it? And they are superior. Okay? There is no way. There's just no way. That was all done. I'd explained in one of the lessons. I forget which one it was. Maybe was it the meritocracy one? I'm not sure, but I explained in one of them um, how it got that way, how we began to um, wait, hold on, let's see. Can't wait to tell my child. Hold on. He said, I can't wait to tell my child about you, doctor. Y'all would never stop talking to each other about this. Oh yeah, I would love to let tell your child to look at some of the videos. I have an account on Medium where I write a lot of essays. Well, I have written a lot of essays that your child can listen to, actually, because on Medium you can also listen to the essays rather than read them. I find, and it's so ironic. It's crazy that I'm a writer. That's what my master's is in writing studies. My doctorate is in educational leadership, with my focus being on higher education. But I don't like to. The only thing I like to read is nonfiction. And I don't like to read that. I like Audible. So I listen to much of what I ingest in terms of reading rather than reading it in a book. So, so I'm glad that um, Medium allows for listening to the essays as well as reading them. I've actually forgot what I was getting ready to say about if you have any questions, if you like, um if anybody would like, I'm going to put it back up there. If you'd like to come up, you don't have to feel like you don't have anything to talk about. I mean, if you want to just ask a question, you can ask a question on the in the panel. uh, it doesn't mean you have to stay up. You can just come up and ask the question, and then ask to be put back down so I can answer it for you. Or if you put a question mark in the beginning and the end of your question, if you have one, I can answer your question that way, if you like. Okay. The subject matter is, of course, exclusivity, exclusive, and exclusion, and how even though outside of the area of outside of the ideology of white supremacy and racism, exclusivity, and exclude mean something mean something that people actually enjoy as part of the American dream, as part of American culture. Exclusivity is part and parcel of American culture. But once you look at it through the lens of white supremacy and racism, you realize excluding wasn't all that fun. We were excluded. Okay? They were exclusive and they enjoyed their exclusivity up into and up until the Civil Rights Act was signed. That's when the one in 1964 is amended in 1968. That's when all hell broke loose again. And they felt like, oh my goodness, we have to do something. We're going to have to change the way people are thinking about this so that it's not just on us. This cannot be exclusive to us anymore. There's no value in it for us anymore. You getting it? If you're getting what I'm saying, throw them light bulbs up. There was no value in being exclusive as white assigned people. They felt that the value was disappearing. So they disappeared white in terms of how they saw each other and replaced it with mainstream. They replaced it with normal, neutral, natural, nude. They no longer called themselves white. It was no longer white. It was Caucasian. I remember the one that I did. It says number one. It's in the live and it's also in the videos. It was the very first attempt at a live that I did on YouTube because most of my videos and presentations were I would do them on Facebook Live and then I would put them on YouTube after I went in and put in a few graphics and things like that. So YouTube would get it as a recording. But I decided let me look at StreamYard and see if I can take advantage of some of the benefits of using StreamYard to go live. And I'm learning. So you understand, it didn't benefit them anymore. It wasn't so cool. It wasn't so good to be racist. So they hid it. They didn't hide the structure. They didn't hide racism. They hid whiteness. They hid the theory that skin pigment or the assignment of the color white to imply skin color. They hid that fact that it grants the individual with certain natural rights and privileges, where the indoctrinated perception is of complete sovereignty over and above everything else on the planet. See, all of a sudden, everything became neutral. Neutral. So there was language such as, we will not discriminate on the basis of color, religion, national origin, and they included sexual orientation later. It was neutral. There was nothing specific, even though we were fighting for specifics. Equality, equity, opportunity, and justice. But what we got, I told you in other discussions, we got limited economic apportionment in education, housing, and employment. All of which they're trying to pull back on now. And heavily. Oh, and I forgot the franchise, because they're getting really, really close to keeping the franchise from us as well, meaning suppressing the vote. They're getting very successful at doing that. But since it wasn't valuable for them anymore to openly exclude, you see where I'm going? It wasn't valuable for them to openly exclude anymore. Exclusivity within the ideology of their white supremacy. They had to mask it through the use of race as character. So that our criminality could exclude us, or economically where because our character was so criminal, we could not have access to uh, jobs and things like that because we didn't have the education, even though we were trying to move a step ahead of that. I don't know whether many of you know that when the Civil Rights Act was signed, but prior to when the Civil Rights Act was signed for employment and education, they could say uh, college degree required. Well, if you know now, they can do that again. They weren't allowed to say college degree required because they knew that there weren't that many Black people during that time who had college degrees because they had effectively what? Excluded. Colleges were exclusive. You see? So they knew that. So they could put college degree, they weren't allowed to put college degree required on advertisements for positions. They had to say equivalent experience. And then it was changed, you know how the powers that be can kind of stroke it a little bit and refine it some more and retool it some more and say, college degree preferred or equivalent experience. Until today, as of 2023, if you look at an ad for a position where that pays any an amount over the poverty line, I mean, over the and most likely well over the poverty line, you're going to have a what hands hands anybody, a college degree, because they have effectively, and we talked about this during one of the classes. Many of you who remember the class on the meritocracy, merit, and the strategic enrollment management that was created to push back against the influx of Black people who were attempting to gain entry into colleges and universities. And the ones that they were able to get into were a lot of the time, were the for profit colleges and universities. And then there became a concerted effort to get rid of these for profit colleges and universities. And see, there's a dynamic to that as well. See, colleges and universities that many white people were attending were what could be called the top 500 colleges and universities, and they were getting in, and Black people were just not being able to get into those universities for one reason or another. SAT scores, which are absolutely designed to discriminate and to exclude. And what do they call, and college boards, the entrance examinations were also designed to exclude. Now they're not going to say this. We want to do these to exclude you, Black people. But in the meantime, they're not doing anything in terms of your education up to and including high school. In fact, they've based that on uh, taxes on homes in many of these areas, knowing full well that within the cities, people have with money have left. So there's no tax base for the public schools, so they get no money. And then they require testing in order to get money. So your students are learning to take a test instead of learning what's necessary to get into college. It's not all happenstance, people. It is being done because we live in a system of racism. Okay? And we cannot be racist in a system that subjugates us on the basis of our race. We're not going to subjugate each other. We're not going to subjugate ourselves. I don't care. I don't care what anybody says. Now, can we be jacked up in terms of how we see each other's color, in terms of uh, skin, in terms of how we associate color with privilege, which really is part and parcel of the same ideology and is designed and made for us to do what we do to each other to co-sign on the very thing that they are saying. So they say, well, if you got lighter color, then you get this much more privilege over the ones who have less, more color. If you got less and less and less and less, then you get up a little higher, a little higher. The reality is, we all. If I had a nickel for the discrimination and denial I received in the 40 years of working for these people. Yeah, we all get it. So I don't want to digress. But anyway, yeah, that's that. So I think that, yeah, I'm going to keep this paper. I'm have to reprint the one on, um, well, I'm not going to do individualism. I'm going to do inclusivity, this exclusivity, and then we can discuss the two in next week. Okay. And as a continuation of the lesson for this week, if you want, we can do that. Okay. So I do hope that you come and join me. All right. I do hope that you come and join me for the lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. Oh, good. Oh, thank you, Jezebel. Yes. Yeah. Oh, good. Thank you. Do the right thing. I'm glad. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, and because that's my goal. Not only do I hope you enjoyed it, but I hope you got something out of it. I hope that light bulb went off in your head, and you said, "Oh, I get it." So the next time I hear the word exclusive, exclusivity, or exclude, I have more than one context with which to think of the term. Hmm. Are they talking about it within or inside or outside of the ideology of white supremacy? Ooh, let me put my thinking cap on. Ooh, this one got to do with white supremacy. Ain't they something? See? And do understand, for the last time, I'm not gonna say for the last time because I'll be saying it. I'm drilling it. Hate is not racism. Does racism have I don't want to say roots, branches? Yeah. If white supremacy was a tree, racism is the no. If racism is the tree, white supremacy is the root. Hate is one of many branches, and the leaves are the people. I want you to think about it in those terms. If racism is a tree, then white supremacism is the root. And one of the many branches includes hate. It doesn't mean hate is the only precursor to racism. No, it's not how I feel about you, although in their most extreme, in the most extreme of their culture, I mean, the boot boys and um the guys that wear the swastika tattoos and the militias and all those, um they hate, but they are by no means the only racist white supremacists. Many of them wear suits and work with you. Many of them live near you. Some of them might even be your neighbors. Some of them you know very well. You point your finger at them and say, "Yep." And some of them you never know until they slip up that one day and say something they shouldn't say, which kind of lets you know, make you give them the side eye. So, just so you know, okay? And I'll keep talking about that because I do think it's important for us today to understand what racism is, why it was created, when it was created, because you got to know the when to understand the why. Always understand you have to know the when to understand the why. So before I go, I'd like to read that little snippet, that little thing that I wrote in my book. We are living the history of our descendants. Everything we experience today will become their history because at some point we will become their ancestors. We owe it to them to be honest about it. And by source, by God, by the universe, for the rest of my time here on earth, I am going to make sure that I give you the unbleached truth. Okay? That's the way it is. That's the way it's always going to be for me, ladies and gentlemen. The doctor's out.